So we haven't done that. So the good news is we've spent less money than we originally had planned. So, it's a good news, bad news. Bad news, a little bit slower than we would have liked. The good news is we didn't spend the money.
But the people we did have, they're good people. And, we are, for the size of team that we had, we are farther along than we have any right to be, honestly.
Yeah.
Now that we are fully armed and operational, it's going to be even better.
And you guys who are in internal tests can certainly, sorry for the pun, attest to that, as you've seen some of the work done now by our interface guy and our programmers, and as well some other surprises that the rest of the backers will see during the BSC.
Okay. You have talked about Realm Pride. Are there tools you can tell us about to help facilitate that?
Well, certainly the bounty system that we announced as our next stretch goal is certainly helpful in that. But at the end of the day, Realm Pride comes from you. It comes from our backers. It comes from us giving the players the world, essentially, and then allowing them to play in it. It comes from, not whether it's just a building system or where we put, certain relics, the places of power I talked about during, the Kickstarter, the depths and all that. Realm Pride, at the end of the day, is really up to you folks. We're going to put out, as you've seen already, interesting races. Hopefully you've liked, the concept of the Hellbound as a class. We're going to give you these things that we hope you guys will love, that will make you feel good about being an Arthurian or a Viking, or obviously a TDD. But Realm Pride, at the end of the day, is going to be up to you, with the caveat that we also can't do anything stupid to hurt Realm Pride. And that's something we do focus on, when we talk about features here or even the races, that we don't want to introduce something that makes it, or hurts cohesion in the realm. And the bounty system is an example where if we allowed players within the realm to place a bounty on someone else within the realm, or allowed a guild in the realm to place a bounty on another guild within the realm, that would be bad.
Yeah, that would just be...
Exactly. And so we can't do that.
I think what Mark said, it's about you. I mean, that really is, it's, we do what we can with, to make distinctive art for each realm and all that, but really Pride comes from your connection to the people that you're playing with. And, and that's about community. And, in terms of tools and tech, there are things we can do to facilitate that. Like, one of my goals from the start was to, expand out things like, make the chat accessible from out of game, just so you could have more of a community connected to people. The things we're doing, opening up a web API, again, that's lets people put up their own sites that are even more dynamic and interacting with the world. One of the things that I think is a great idea is the conscious decision to not put in an auction house so that you have to interact with the other people in your realm to buy and sell and have host your own store and things like that. Like that is driving people to interact with each other within the realm and to know each other's names and to really foster a community that's both in the game and then technically can extend out of the game.
Yep.
Exile Duck asks, please tell me you're going to have internal CS rather than using a third party.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did that almost from day one at Mythic, and I see no reason to change here. We've been very clear with our backers that we are not going to sell the rights to this game in Europe, that we are going to host it ourselves. We're going to run CS ourselves. It all goes with the, with the subscription price. I mean, it's really that simple. You guys who have agreed to back this game hopefully others who will come to back us and eventually to play the game. You know, I think you have every right to expect a certain level of service from us if we're going to, you know, ask you for a subscription. And that absolutely includes running our own CS. Not a chance that we are going to farm that out. It worked for me back in the old days, and I expect it's going to work here as well.
Yeah, and just tight integration with CS and the dev team also.
Of course.
You know, like
that's how it works.
The new space has room to have at least, you know, the start of CS in the same physical room as the developers, and you know, communication is so important.
I actually approved the electrical design yesterday that included the CS area, so that's why we're kind of chuckling. So it is an absolute yes.
Talong asks, I will be playing from Thailand, and my ping will be 250 ms, similar to Australia. Will it be penalized in PvP trying to play on West Coast servers?
Well, you're assuming that there will be West Coast servers. Now, we haven't said anything about that. What we're going to do is certainly, as you guys know us already, we're running off AWS. So, you know, spinning up, you know, servers, whether it's in different countries or in different areas, we certainly can do. But the honest answer is that no matter what we, you know, would like to see, you know, there is the physical laws of this world. And if you're coming in from a very distant server, whether it is to the U.S., whether it is to the West Coast or the East Coast, you might be at a disadvantage. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it will be just as good. However, one of the things that we did in our old games, and I know Andrew's about to jump in on, we have to also be able to deal with people here who have lousy connections. And if you've got a great connection from Thailand, it could be better than a lousy connection from Nebraska. So,
yeah. Well, also, you know, yeah, there's America lags behind most first world countries in broadband, sadly. But you know, in terms of having a good experience, that comes back to we're not really trying to make a Twitch game. We're trying to make a game where the strategy comes less from, you know, jumping 3 feet to the right at exactly the right time, and more about, you know, how did you plan out which skills you're going to fire off in which order. And like one of the things that we have, if you're, and I'm not promising this is going to be the final version, but like in IT right now, there's a very explicit queuing system on skills where, you know, you can hit 2 and then immediately hit 5, and 5 just sits there in a queue, even if, you know, ability 2 lasts for 1.5 seconds. So you've queued it up to go off instantly on the server. And again, that just sort of takes the lag and the twitchiness out of the equation. It's not about, can I hit 5 the instant 2 finishes? It's, you know, is 5 the right thing to do when 2 finishes?
But it is very important to keep in mind that if you're coming in from another country, if you have a great connection to the West Coast, you can be in as good of shape as somebody who has a lousy connection here in the States. So, you know, we have to baseline that, as, you know, Andrew says, whether it's with the queuing system or other things we're going to do. If this game doesn't work with a 250 millisecond lag, it doesn't matter whether you're coming from Thailand or you're coming from Nebraska. We've got to be smart both on tech and design to make sure we can handle it.
We're getting a lot of crafting questions, one of which is, can crafters PvP? And the second is about item customization, pommels, blades, how specific are you going to break it down?
Okay, quick answers to this. Crafters can PvP, but understand that the crafting character will not have the same attacks, will not have some of the same abilities as, you know, other players. It's a class. That's its intent, is as a crafter. But we do want our crafters to be in RVR. And we'll talk about, probably not during the BSC, but further down, the role we want them to play in combat in terms, you know, of their role, and not just as making, you know, siege equipment, but actually being involved. In terms of customization, Andrew has some thoughts on that we've talked about privately. We're not going to talk about them now, but you know, the answer is yes. We want a lot of customization for the crafters because, frankly, if we don't have that, then once again, and we go back to one of the earliest questions, then our crafters won't be happy.
I mean, if I'm playing with a sword that Mark made as opposed to Tim made, I want to be able to look at that sword and, you know, see that, yes, this is a Mark sword. In terms of in combat, the phrase I like to use about our crafting type classes is force multiplier. Now, you know, if you're starting with 0 force, adding a force multiplier, well, anything times 0 is still 0. But so, you know, the core dedicated crafter is not going to be a great solo class. On the other hand, he is a class that could make other classes much more powerful.
And just to clarify what Andrew says, what he means by solo, he doesn't mean solo. He means solo only in
combat.
Exactly, in RVR. Because I don't want any crafter out there worrying, oh my God, did he just say I can't solo my crafter? No, the absolute intent is that you can solo your crafter as a crafter from beginning to end by yourself.
Crafters will make bad solo tanks.
There you go.
Foggy S. Andrew, since projectiles will be physical, does that mean they can be intercepted using collision detection?
Yes. Next question.
Destro Online asks, with the other games that are trying out a system of RVR, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls, what lessons have you taken from current games' RVR efforts, and what improvements from Dayak will make the most impact?
Okay, now that's a really complicated question, and it would involve, you know, Andrew and I saying potentially bad things about another game. And
first thing I want to say though is, we are not trying to be a better Elder Scrolls or a better Warhammer. You know, we know we are making a niche game. So, you know, it's not about being a better Elder Scrolls than Elder Scrolls. That's not our goal at all.
So, yeah. No, I'm sorry, but it's not that it's a bad question. It's a good question. And it is something, as part of our due diligence, you know, for designing this game, we, of course, look at what other guys are doing, what fails, what succeeds. But I don't want, and neither will Andrew, say anything bad, you know, about, you know, the competition. We'll leave that to other developers, not us.
So the thing with the game industry, like, people, it's a volatile industry. A project comes and goes, and people move around, and, you know, I've got friends on all these teams, and I'm playing a lot of their games, and, you know, they have made a great game for the people who want to play that game. And we're trying to make a great game for the people who want what we're trying to make.
There are a lot of questions about guilds and realm communication and how teams can communicate. Can you elaborate on that in general?
Not right now. We'll pass on that.
Okay. Will there be super sparkly and huge equipment environment from ROFL? Wants to know what that's going to be like.
Can you ask that again?
Yeah.
Will there be super sparkly and huge...
Wait, start again, Tennessee.
Sure.
Start again now, please.
Will there be super sparkly and huge equipment / environments, or will it all be somewhat authentical?
Oh, okay. So if you're asking whether it's going to look like WoW or WildStar or a lot of Asian games, no, we're going for a much different look. You know, we know that the majority of our backers certainly are looking for something that's less sparkly, less, you know, I don't want to say less non-realistic, because look, nobody knows exactly, even if you look at the Vikings, nobody knows exactly what helmets they wore. I think there's like only a couple of really good examples that have survived 100% intact. So we're just going to go for a very good look for the game that is going to fit the three realms, that's going to fit the post-apocalyptic nature of this game. And the only thing we'll say today, because frankly, we don't have a finished city yet. We haven't even started on the cities. So the only thing we'll say is we're not going to be sparkly, we're not going to be, you know,